CEO goes incognito as a receptionist and discovers surprising truths about his team that will change everything in the company. Ethan Johnson, the charismatic CEO of Innovatech, observed his team from his luxurious office, surrounded by glass walls that reflected the vibrant city of San Francisco. The morning sun illuminated the space, but a shadow loomed over the company atmosphere. He sensed that the trust that once reigned among his employees had waned, replaced by furtive glances and hushed. With each passing day, Ethan became increasingly aware of a growing distrust among team members, something he believed posed a threat to his leadership. After days of intense reflection, Ethan decided he needed to take radical action to understand what was happening behind the scenes at Innovatech. "If I want to regain control, I need to hear the truths that are hidden," he murmured to himself. With that in mind, he devised an audacious plan to disguise himself as a receptionist, a role that would allow him to blend in and observe everything without being recognized. He chose the name Ryan and, with a determined smile, began preparing his new persona. The next morning, dressed in a simple shirt and a discreet tie, Ethan arrived at the office before anyone else. He became a master at handling calls and visitors, but the true advantage of his new position was the opportunity to overhear conversations that revealed the tense climate within the company. One particularly busy morning, while organizing some correspondence, he overheard a conversation between Amanda, the marketing director, and Bradley, one of the sales managers. "Do you really think the sales team is doing what they need to?" Amanda asked, her tone sharp. "The numbers are dropping and we need results." Bradley crossed his arms, his expression defiant. "You can't just blame them. The pressure is high and everyone is trying their best. But maybe you should look at your own team, Amanda. If collaboration were better, maybe the results would be too." Ethan watched from his post, intrigued. The rivalry between Amanda and Bradley was palpable, and he wondered if this tension could be affecting the team's morale as a whole. What should have been a healthy collaboration between departments had devolved into a battle of egos, and he knew he needed to understand more before taking any action. That same afternoon, while tidying up some documents at his desk, Chloe, a young analyst, rushed in, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Hi, did you see the new market data? I have some ideas that could help our sales team," she exclaimed, her passion evident in her voice. Ethan smiled, feeling drawn to her determination. "No, I haven't seen it yet, but I'd love to hear your ideas. Why don't you present them at a meeting?" he suggested, trying to encourage her in a way that wouldn't raise suspicion. Chloe hesitated, biting her lower lip. "Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like my suggestions aren't taken seriously, especially when Amanda is around." "Don't underestimate the value of your ideas. You have something important to say, and the team needs to hear it. I know it can be tough, but if you believe in them, it's worth presenting," Ethan encouraged her, sensing a genuine connection with the young woman. He not only wanted to help her, but also realized that her passion for technology could be the key to revitalizing the team. As the afternoon unfolded, Ethan realized that his disguise was revealing not only truths about others, but also aspects of himself that he had ignored. The team dynamics were complex and filled with intrigue, and he was determined to uncover more. After all, he was not just a receptionist, he was a leader seeking answers, ready to confront the challenges facing his company. Ethan watched intently as Amanda moved around the office, her words sharp as blades. He, under the guise of Ryan, maintained a discreet posture behind the reception desk, but his mind was alert to every nuance of interaction among his team. Amanda, with her manipulative demeanor, spoke in hushed tones, but the intensity of her words echoed against the office walls. "I don't know how you can trust the sales team. They're not delivering anything. If we keep going like this, we're going to sink. We need a drastic solution," Amanda said, her gaze fixed on Bradley, who seemed hesitant but intrigued by her proposal. "Are you sure firing some of them is the answer?" Bradley replied, scratching his head. "Wouldn't it be better to motivate them? They're under a lot of pressure, Amanda." Ethan absorbed the conversation, the tension palpable between the two. He realized that the rivalry between Amanda and Bradley was not just a work issue, but a hidden power struggle. He began mentally jotting down his observations, preparing to confront Amanda about her manipulative tactics later. Meanwhile, Chloe, a young analyst who had always been reserved, seemed to be struggling to make her voice heard. Ethan noticed how she tried to engage with her colleagues, but was often ignored. In a moment of determination, he approached her in the kitchen, where she was preparing coffee. Before we continue this exciting story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories. And let us know in the comments which city you're watching this video from. Hey Chloe, have you thought about sharing your ideas at the next meeting? I'm sure they would be well received, Ethan suggested, trying to be encouraging. She looked at him, a bit surprised. I have some proposals, but I'm not sure if they're good enough. Besides, Amanda doesn't seem to like me. I don't want to cause any trouble. Don't worry about Amanda. What matters is that you believe in your ideas. Remember, your passion for technology could be the key to changing things around here, Ethan said, feeling a genuine connection with the young woman. Chloe smiled shyly, a spark of determination appearing in her eyes. Do you really think I should try? I just want my voice to be heard. Absolutely. And if you need help getting ready, I'm here for that. Let's show everyone that your ideas are valuable, Ethan replied, feeling inspired by her courage. That afternoon, as Ethan continued to observe the team dynamics, he realized that Amanda's manipulation was deeper than he had imagined. She moved like a shadow, always ready to discredit those who threatened her status quo. He decided he needed a plan, something that could dismantle her tactics without her noticing. In a conversation with Michael, his CTO, Ethan tried to understand more about the Michael, do you feel the team is united? Or is something hindering productivity? Michael let out a heavy sigh. The truth is, many feel pressured. Amanda is manipulative and honestly, a lot of us are tired of it. I just want the team to function, but it feels like we're always in a power struggle. Ethan nodded. We need a space where everyone feels comfortable expressing their ideas. Do you think that's possible? Maybe, if we can expose the truth about her maneuvers. But it's risky. Amanda won't give up easily, Michael replied, his expression reflecting the frustration of someone feeling trapped in a vicious cycle. As their conversation unfolded, Ethan realized that, although he was disguised, the real battle was just beginning. He needed to act, and quickly. The idea of teaming up with Chloe began to form in his mind, and he knew that together they could make a difference. With a new sense of purpose, he prepared for the next step of his plan. Ethan watched the Innovatech team moving around with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. In his new role as Ryan, the receptionist, he tried to catch the vibe that permeated the environment. It was during one of these moments that he noticed Michael's dissatisfaction. The normally confident and articulate man now seemed dejected, shoulders slumped and gaze distant. Ethan approached, trying to engage Michael in casual convo. Hey Michael, how are you? Got any interesting projects going on? Ethan asked, attempting to sound nonchalant, though he knew the question could open the door for a venting session. Michael looked at Ethan, a faint smile appearing on his lips. Oh, you know how it is. Always busy, always in the shadows. Sometimes I wonder if what we do really matters. Of course it matters. You're the brains behind our technology. Without you, none of this would work, Ethan replied, trying to encourage him. What's been bothering you? Michael hesitated, but the frustration was clear in his voice. It's tough when ideas aren't heard, when you feel like you're fighting alone. The team is so focused on results that they forget the value of innovation. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of those words. He knew that Michael's voice was vital for the future of the company, and he needed to help him feel valued. But before he could respond, Amanda appeared, cutting the moment short. Michael, you're not really going to leave the new platform project until the last minute, are you? She asked, her voice laced with sarcasm. We need results, not excuses. Ethan noticed Amanda's disdainful gaze and how she seemed to feed off Michael's insecurity. He turned to her, trying to remain calm. We're all on the same team, Amanda. What we need is to work together, not place blame on a single member. Amanda flashed a cynical smile. Sure, Ryan, but someone has to be responsible for maintaining pressure, and if that means shaking things up for those who are slacking, so be it. With that, she walked away, while Ethan watched Michael shrink back, as if the impact of Amanda's words had been a physical blow. The receptionist seized the opportunity to get closer to Michael, determined to offer support. Don't let her get to you. You have so much value here and your ideas matter. Let's find a way to make sure you have a voice in the next meeting, Ethan said earnestly. Thanks, Ryan. It's good to know someone cares. Sometimes it feels like we're all fighting to be heard, Michael replied, a bit more uplifted. Meanwhile, Amanda watched from a distance, noticing the interaction and feeling her anger grow. When she encountered Bradley, she wasted no time sharing her frustrations. Ryan is getting too involved. He needs to understand that hierarchy exists for a reason, Amanda said, her voice low but venomous. Bradley raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What are you suggesting? That the new receptionist is a threat to you? No, but he's getting close to Chloe. If she starts to shine, who will be at the forefront? We need to discredit her before it's too late, Amanda replied, a plan beginning to form in her mind. Bradley, who had always been wary of Chloe, nodded. All right, but how do you plan to do that? I'll insinuate that her ideas aren't viable. If we can do it subtly, we can ensure she's not heard in the next meeting, Amanda said, her expression now a mask of determination. Meanwhile, Ethan, who was only a few steps away, didn't miss the opportunity to listen in. Amanda's words cut through the air like a blade, and he felt a wave of protectiveness for Chloe. He knew he needed to intervene, but how? The environment was becoming increasingly hostile, and the intrigue was wrapping around him at an alarming pace. Determined to help Chloe, Ethan decided it was time to act. He recalled his previous meeting with the young analyst and the spark in her eyes as she spoke about her ideas. If he could encourage her to stand up for herself and defend her ideas, perhaps he could change the course of that narrative. Ethan watched the team with an increasingly critical eye, reflecting on the power dynamics and the culture that permeated Innovatech. He had disguised himself as a receptionist, but now, as Ryan, he felt closer to the essence of the company than ever. He remembered the first time he stepped into that office, surrounded by people he thought he knew well. But as he delved deeper into conversations and interactions, he realized there was much more beneath the facade of cordiality. That morning, while organizing some papers at the reception desk, Ethan saw Chloe approaching, her expression somewhat troubled. He recognized her as the young analyst who had tried to stand out in the team but seemed to always be in the shadows of others. With an encouraging smile, Ethan said, "Hey Chloe, how are things on your end?" She hesitated before answering, her gaze fixed on the floor. "Not very well, Ryan. I feel like my ideas aren't being taken seriously. You know your voice is important, right? You shouldn't let others make you feel invisible. You need to fight for what you believe in." Chloe smiled shyly, but Ethan sensed she was still insecure. "Maybe you're right, but it's hard when everyone seems so confident. And well, Amanda and Bradley have a way of dismissing any idea that isn't theirs. What if you prepared better for the next meeting? We can practice your presentation together. You need to be ready to defend your ideas," Ethan suggested, encouraging her to see the value in her own vision. "Would you do that for me?" "I would be very grateful," Chloe replied, hope beginning to shine in her eyes. "Of course. Let's sharpen your ideas and get them ready to shine. I believe you can make a difference here," Ethan responded with sincere enthusiasm, feeling empowered by his own decision to help someone find their space. As the day went on, Ethan couldn't shake off what he had heard about Michael's frustrations, the CTO. He remembered how the man seemed isolated, as if he were struggling against an invisible current that prevented him from standing out. Determined to reach out, Ethan looked for an opportunity to talk to him. "Hey Michael, do you have a minute?" Ethan said, trying to sound casual as the CTO stared at his screen, clearly overwhelmed. Michael looked up, surprised. "Sure, Ryan. What do you need?" "I just wanted to know how you're feeling about what's happening in the company. You seem to be carrying a heavy load." Michael sighed, his gaze drifting for a moment. "It's complicated. I feel like my contributions aren't valued. Sometimes it seems like I'm fighting alone to keep everything running." "You're not alone. The team needs your vision and experience. You're one of the pillars of Innovatech," Ethan said, trying to convey genuine support. "Thank you, Ryan. It's good to hear that. I often feel like I don't have space to assert my ideas. Sometimes it feels like I'm talking to walls," Michael replied, frustration evident in his voice. Ethan nodded, understanding the pain he felt. "Let's work together to change that. I want you to know that your voice matters, and we can find a way to make it heard more." That afternoon, while reflecting on his interactions, Ethan realized that his journey as Ryan wasn't just about uncovering the company's dark secrets, but also about building connections and empowering those who felt marginalized. He thought about how inclusion and active listening could transform Innovatech into a place where everyone could thrive. Ethan didn't just want to be an effective CEO, he wanted to be a leader who genuinely cared. He was beginning to understand that to be truly successful, he needed to ensure that everyone had a voice, especially those who were often silenced. Thus, he committed to standing up not just as a leader, but as an ally. The atmosphere at Innovatech was tense, and the air crackled with the kind of tension that felt like a storm about to break. Ethan, under the identity of Ryan, noticed that the rivalry between Amanda and Bradley was intensifying by the day. That morning, while on a call, he heard raised voices coming from the conference room. Curious, he leaned in a bit to listen more closely. "Bradley, you can't just ignore the numbers. The sales team is failing miserably, and that's going to affect all of us," Amanda exclaimed, her voice filled with frustration. "And what do you suggest? That we fire everyone? That won't solve anything, Amanda," Bradley replied, his tone unyielding. He was clearly tired of her insistence. "It's not about firing, but about doing what's necessary to keep this company running," Amanda insisted, her eyes shining with dark determination. "We need a drastic solution, and if that means cutting some members of the sales team, so be it." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Her proposal was alarming, but what troubled him more was how willing Amanda seemed to sacrifice colleagues to maintain her own position. He needed to act. As soon as the conversation ended and the room emptied, Ethan headed to the restroom, looking at himself in the mirror, trying to calm the storm brewing inside him. That afternoon, while passing through the break room, Ethan noticed Michael, the CTO, sitting alone in a corner looking dejected. He hesitated but decided to approach. "Hey, Michael, you look worried," Ethan commented, trying to sound casual. Michael looked at Ethan, his frustration evident. "You could say that. What's happening with the team? Amanda seems determined to create a climate of fear. People are demotivated. I've noticed that too. You know, the way she's treating people isn't healthy, and I've heard some things that really concern me," Ethan replied, keeping his voice low. Michael sighed, shaking his head. "She has a plan and it's not good. I don't know how the company got to this point, but she's more interested in maintaining her position than in the well-being of the team." The conversation was interrupted when Chloe entered the room, her nervous expression evident upon seeing the two men. "Hi, guys. Sorry to interrupt, but I need to talk to you, Ryan. It's about the presentation I'm going to give at the executive meeting. I don't know if I'm ready." Ethan smiled and encouraged her. "Chloe, you are more than capable. Your ideas are brilliant. You need to believe in yourself. I'll help you prepare." "Thank you, Ryan. That really means a lot to me," she replied, her face lighting up with the confidence she had been lacking. However, the tension between Amanda and Bradley wasn't dissipating. That night, while Ethan reviewed his notes, their conversation still echoed in his mind. Determined to better understand the situation, he remained alert for any developments. The next day, during a team meeting, Ethan observed the interactions and felt the pressure mounting. Chloe was about to present her idea, but Bradley's expression was one of disdain. He seemed eager to undermine every word that came out of her mouth. "Do you really think this is going to work, Chloe? Our clients are more interested in results than in fanciful ideas," Bradley interrupted, his voice cutting. "Bradley, that's not fair," Ethan interjected, rising to his feet. "Chloe worked hard on this, and we all need to hear what she has to say." "It's easy for you to say that, Ryan, but you don't understand the pressure we're under," Bradley retorted, clearly uncomfortable with Ethan's defense. "This isn't just about pressure, it's about how we handle it. We need innovation, and that includes listening to even the quietest voices," Ethan said, determination shining through. The tension in the room was palpable. Chloe looked at Ethan with gratitude, but also a hint of fear. She knew Bradley's words could have consequences, but Ethan's "I believe we can find a solution together," Chloe said, her voice steady. "Please let me explain my idea." The room fell silent, and Ethan knew that the fight was just beginning. The battle between Amanda and Bradley had deeper ramifications, and he was determined to uncover the truth behind the manipulation threatening Innovatech. Ethan, now living under the guise of Ryan, felt each day becoming more intense. The atmosphere at Innovatech was charged with tension, and he knew he needed to act quickly. In his mind, he mapped out a plan to expose Amanda and Bradley's manipulations. The realization that there was a power play happening within the company left him unsettled, and the idea of recording conversations became increasingly appealing. On a cloudy morning, while organizing some folders at the reception, Ethan decided it was time to start collecting evidence. He sat at his desk, immersed in his notes, but his eyes were keenly aware of the movement around him. Amanda was in one of the meeting rooms with Bradley, and he knew that valuable information could be exchanged there. Using his cell phone, he activated the recording and placed it in a strategic position where it could capture the conversation unnoticed. "The sales this quarter are way below expectations, and you know it's not my fault," Amanda said, her voice sharp with nerves. We need to take drastic measures, and you know that firing someone could be the solution. I can't keep carrying the weight of this team on my shoulders. Do you really think firing people will solve everything? Bradley shot back, his tone cynical. That will only create more problems. People will feel insecure and won't want to work here. What you really need to do is find a way to bring the team together, not divide them further. Divide? You don't understand, Bradley. The only way to secure our position is to eliminate the weak, and if that means sacrificing some members of the sales team, then so be it. I won't let them ruin our plans. The pressure is on us, and we need results. Ethan felt a wave of anger wash over him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Amanda's manipulation, her coldness, and her contempt for her co-workers were palpable. He knew he needed more proof, more information to support his suspicions. With a discreet movement, he turned off the recording and started to back away, his heart racing. Later, while having coffee in the kitchen, he ran into Chloe, who looked anxious. He could tell something was wrong. "Hey, Chloe, are you okay?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Hi, Ryan, I'm worried about the presentation at the next meeting. I feel like no one is taking my ideas seriously." Her expression was filled with frustration. "Have you thought about preparing better? Show them what you can do," Ethan suggested, his tone encouraging. He remembered how he felt when his own ideas were dismissed, and he wanted to inspire Chloe to fight for her vision. "I think you have incredible potential, and I'd love to see you shine." Chloe hesitated, her insecurity evident. "But what if they don't like it? What if they interrupt me like they did last time?" "Listen," Ethan said, leaning forward. "You have to believe in yourself. And if you need help, I'll be here to support you. You're not alone in this." A shy smile appeared on Chloe's face. "Thank you, Ryan. That means a lot to me. I really want my idea to work." With renewed energy, Ethan decided that not only would he help Chloe, but he would also use her as an ally in his plan. Together, they could not only expose Amanda's manipulations, but also bring a new culture of collaboration and respect to Innovatech. He said goodbye to Chloe, promising to help her prepare for the presentation. As she left, Ethan turned his attention back to the plan he was devising. He knew he needed to be cautious and strategic. The recordings he had made were just the beginning. The next step would be to approach Chloe and convince her to join him in the mission to expose the injustices permeating the company. "Let's go, Chloe," he murmured to himself, determined. "It's time to make a change." The meeting room was tense. Innovatech employees settled into their chairs, nervous glances crossing the long, polished table. Ethan, still disguised as Ryan, felt the weight of expectations on his shoulders. He knew this was a pivotal moment, not just for himself but for everyone in the room. With his heart racing, he stood up, clear that he could no longer postpone the truth. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice firm yet approachable. "I invited you to this meeting because I feel we need to talk about the climate within our team. Trust and collaboration are the foundations of our success, and it's time we address some sensitive issues." He shot a direct look at Amanda and Bradley, who exchanged subtle but nervous glances. "Ryan, you're new here and may not fully understand the situation," Amanda interjected, her defensive tone evident. "We're just trying to keep the company on track. Sometimes difficult decisions need to be made." Ethan took a deep breath, recalling the conversations he had overheard, the manipulations and intrigues unfolding behind the scenes. "I understand that difficult decisions are part of any business. However, what we're facing isn't just a numbers issue. It's about the culture we're building, a culture that clearly isn't working for everyone." The room fell silent. He continued, "Today, I'm not just the receptionist you know. I am Ethan Johnson, the CEO of Innovatech." The murmurs began to rise, and shock settled on the faces of each employee. Amanda opened her mouth in disbelief, while Bradley seemed to have lost the ability to speak. "Faz, what do you mean? This is outrageous," Amanda shouted, trying to regain control of the situation. "Outrageous or not, it's the truth," Ethan replied, his voice now louder and filled with conviction. "And the truth is that I discovered something very concerning within this company, a pattern of manipulation and betrayal that cannot be ignored." "Manipulation? What are you insinuating?" Bradley stood up, his defensive posture revealing his discomfort. "You can't just accuse people without evidence." "As a matter of fact, I have evidence," Ethan said, pulling out his phone and playing an audio recording. The sound echoed through the room, revealing a conversation between Amanda and Bradley, full of promises to undermine Chloe and plans to discredit her ideas. All eyes turned to Amanda, who looked pale. "This is unacceptable," Amanda yelled, trying to justify herself. You can't use this against us. We were just trying to maintain the integrity of the team. Maintain integrity? Ethan repeated, his voice now a roar. You were destroying your team's trust, manipulating information to create divisions. This is not what we call leadership. He looked around the room and saw faces that expressed confusion and indignation. We need an environment where everyone can thrive. And what you did, Amanda, is the exact opposite. Amanda and Bradley exchanged nervous glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. Ethan continued, I'm not here just to expose your lies. I'm here to unite this team, to build a future where each of you feels valued and respected. But first, we need to address the consequences. The atmosphere in the room changed drastically. Employees began to murmur among themselves, some showing support for Ethan, while others appeared hesitant. Chloe, who had been at the center of the accusations, Ethan, I just wanted to present my ideas. I just wanted to be heard. Her voice was a mix of sadness and determination. And you will be heard, Chloe, Ethan assured her, looking directly at her. Today, we will listen to everyone. It's not just about me or about you. It's about all of us. It's time to rewrite the narrative of Innovatech. The room was now enveloped in reflective silence. Ethan felt that the truth had been revealed, but there was still a long road ahead. He looked again at Amanda and Bradley, realizing that the battle had just begun, but now he was no longer alone. The conference room was charged with tension. Ethan, still in the guise of Ryan, looked at Amanda and Bradley, who now found themselves in a vulnerable position. After his bombshell revelation, the air felt heavy, as if every word he had spoken still echoed in the minds of those present. The expressions of shock mixed with disbelief among the employees. You can't do this, Ethan. I mean, Ryan, this is madness, Amanda exclaimed, her voice trembling with indignation. Panic was reflected in her eyes. You don't understand the complexities of our work. Everything I did was to protect the company. Ethan crossed his arms, maintaining the calm he had gained throughout his undercover experience. Protect the company. You referred to manipulations and betrayals. Amanda, your actions not only harmed Chloe, but also the entire team. What you called protection was in fact an attempt to maintain your control at all costs. Bradley, who had been quiet until then, decided to intervene. Ethan, you're throwing all of this away. Amanda has a history of success at this company. We can't just disregard that. The decisions we make are tough, but they are necessary. If your results were built on distrust and fear, Bradley, Ethan replied, his voice steady. No one should have to work in an environment like this. It's time for all of us to face the truth. And the truth is that you created a toxic system. The faces of some employees in the room began to change, from shock to support. Chloe, who had remained silent until then, decided to stand up. That's true. I just wanted to be heard. Amanda and Bradley tried to discredit me, not just for my idea, but because I dared to speak up. I'm not the only one who has suffered from this. The whole team has felt suffocated. Amanda turned to Chloe, her gaze a mix of contempt and anger. You don't know what you're talking about. You're new here. Things don't work the way you think. You're only where you are because Ethan, or rather, Ryan, decided to support you. Actually, Amanda, she's where she is because she deserves it, Ethan replied, stepping in. And this should be a lesson for all of us. Success shouldn't come at the expense of ethics. We need an environment where every voice is heard and respected. The room was filled with a heavy silence, but Ethan sensed a change in the air. He took a deep breath and continued. I'm not here to punish anyone, but to restore a healthy environment at Innovatech. Amanda, you may have been a good employee, but your actions cannot be overlooked. We need accountability. Amanda took a deep breath, her expression shifting from anger to desperation. Ethan, you can't fire me. I did what I thought was right. I am loyal to this company. Loyalty is not an excuse for manipulation, he replied, his voice firm. The consequences of your actions are necessary for us to move forward. What you did is not just an internal issue, but something that affects us all. And that's why starting today, you and Bradley will be suspended while we investigate your actions. Bradley, now visibly irritated, stood up. This is absurd. You're all being influenced by this new employee. He pointed at Chloe with disdain. She has no idea what it really means to work here. And you have no idea what it means to be a leader, Ethan responded, his voice resonating with authority. True leadership is about empowering others, not tearing them down. Innovatech needs people who are willing to build, not destroy. and I'm here to make sure that happens." The tension in the room began to dissipate as some team members started to voice their opinions. "I support Ethan," said one of the analysts, raising his hand. "We need change, and it's time to talk about what's really happening here." "Yeah, me too," shouted another voice. Soon a wave of support began to spread through the room, transforming the heavy atmosphere into one of determination and hope. Ethan looked at Chloe, who was now more confident. He knew that, despite the challenges still ahead, a new chapter was beginning for Innovatech. A new era of transparency and collaboration was forming, and he was determined to lead this transformation. Ethan sat at his new desk, now surrounded by an environment that breathed change. The sun streamed through the window, filling the room with a warm glow. He looked at his team, a group that, even after the recent turmoil, was eager for a new direction. Trust had been shaken, but there was also a fresh spirit of hope in the air. He realized that Innovatech's transformation wouldn't just be about restructuring, but about creating a space where everyone felt valued and heard. "Good morning, team," Ethan began, his voice resonating with a firm yet warm tone. "Today is the first day of the rest of our journey. I want everyone to know that this is a safe space to express your ideas and concerns." He paused, observing the reactions. Some faces showed skepticism, while others gleamed with the anticipation of change. Chloe, who was sitting near the back of the room, hesitantly raised her hand. "Ethan, how can we be sure that things will be different this time? Amanda and Bradley always had the final say in meetings. Has that changed now?" Ethan smiled, appreciating her courage to question. "I understand your concern, Chloe. That's why I want to establish a new principle here: transparency. I want everyone to feel comfortable bringing their ideas forward without fear of repercussions. Leadership shouldn't be a glass dome, but rather an open and collaborative space." A murmur of approval spread through the room. Michael, sitting on one of the sides, leaned forward. "What if things start to get complicated again? What will you do to ensure we don't fall back into that toxic dynamic?" "Great question, Michael," Ethan replied. "I believe communication is key. I will implement regular meetings where everyone can share their concerns and suggestions, and I will be here to listen, not just as your CEO, but as a colleague who also wants Innovatech to thrive." As the conversation continued, Ethan felt the energy of the team shift. Doubts were replaced by a sense of unity and purpose. He knew there was still a long way to go, but everyone's willingness to collaborate was a positive sign. In the following days, Ethan worked hard to create an inclusive environment. He organized workshops and brainstorming sessions where every team member had the opportunity to voice their opinions. The corporate culture was transforming, and he was determined to ensure that no one felt invisible again. In one of those sessions, Chloe presented an idea she had developed. "Guys, I was thinking of an app that could improve our internal communication. It would allow everyone to share project updates in real time and also include a space for anonymous feedback." Her voice was steady, and Ethan could see the passion in her eyes. "That's amazing, Chloe," Ethan exclaimed. "This could be the solution we've been looking for to address our communication issues. Let's work on this together. Who else would like to contribute to this idea?" Arms shot up in response. The team was finally coming together, and Ethan realized that change was indeed happening. What was once a divided company was now beginning to transform into a cohesive team where every member felt valued. At the end of an intense week of collaboration, Ethan called a meeting to discuss the next steps. He sat in front of a team that now seemed more united than ever. "I'm proud of all of you. The work we've done together this week is a testament to what we can achieve when we collaborate and respect one another. We need to continue in this direction." Amanda and Bradley, who had been ousted from the company, was still a sensitive topic, but Ethan was determined not to let their past actions overshadow Innovatech's future. "Let's ensure that the culture we're building here isn't just a response to what happened, but a solid foundation for our growth moving forward. From now on, each of you has a crucial role in our journey." With that, the team applauded, and Ethan felt a wave of satisfaction. He knew that the changes being implemented were not just superficial. They reflected a new philosophy that prioritized people. Innovatech was rising as a place where everyone could thrive, and he was ready to lead this transformation. Ethan took the stage, his heart pounding, but his mind was clear. He looked out at the packed audience, composed of employees, business partners, and friends who had supported Innovatech over the years. The atmosphere was charged with expectation, but there was also a new energy in the air, a sense of renewal and hope. Clearing his throat, he began his speech. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're here not only to celebrate the reopening of Innovatec, but to embrace a new beginning. The faces in the audience reflected a mix of emotions. Some still appeared skeptical, recalling the intrigues that had permeated the company, while others were visibly excited by the promises of change. Chloe was in the front row, her gaze fixed on Ethan, her enthusiasm contagious. He continued, "In recent months, I have gone through a journey of self-discovery. What I thought was merely an experiment turned into a revelation. I discovered that a company's true strength lies not just in its technology, but in the people who make it work." The room erupted in applause, but Ethan knew he needed to go beyond words. He looked directly at the sales team, who had faced many difficulties and uncertainties. "I want to apologize to each of you. You are the backbone of Innovatec, and I failed to listen to you. From now on, transparency, inclusion, and collaboration will be the pillars of our corporate culture." He paused, observing the reactions. Some employees nodded in approval, while others still seemed hesitant. "We're implementing new guidelines to ensure that every voice is heard, that every idea is valued, and more importantly, that everyone feels safe to express themselves without fear of retaliation." He remembered Chloe, the light in her eyes when she presented her idea. Innovation comes from all of us, and that's why I'm excited to announce that Chloe will be our new project leader. She not only brought a brilliant idea, but also represents the future we are building together. The audience erupted in applause once again, and Chloe blushed, surprised and emotional. As she stood up, smiling shyly, Ethan looked at her with pride. He knew this was the change Innovatec needed, and he couldn't be happier to have someone so talented and passionate in a leadership position. But the atmosphere of celebration was abruptly interrupted when an anonymous message arrived on Ethan's phone. He glanced quickly at the device, his expression shifting from joy to concern. The message revealed that a former employee was planning legal action against the company, claiming that Amanda and Bradley's manipulations had significantly impacted the staff. A chill ran down his spine, and he realized the battle was far from over. After the speech, Ethan approached Chloe, who was still surrounded by colleagues and admirers. He pulled her aside to a more private corner, trying to mask his discomfort. "Chloe, I need to talk to you about something serious. I received a concerny. A former employee is thinking about suing the company. This could complicate everything we're trying to build." Chloe frowned, worried. "Is this serious, Ethan? What are we going to do?" The determination in her eyes was undeniable. "We need to act quickly. We have to make sure the truth comes to light and that Innovatec isn't dragged down by these accusations. I'll gather the legal team, and we need to review all our processes to prevent more issues in the future." He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "And more importantly, we need to ensure that all our employees feel safe and supported during this time. I'm with you, Ethan. We'll face this together," she said, her voice firm. The bond between them grew even stronger in that moment. They were a team, ready to tackle whatever challenges lay ahead in their Innovatec journey. And so, while the event continued, Ethan knew that their journey was just beginning. He looked out at the audience, where many faces reflected hope and expectation. The future of Innovatec depended not just on him, but on everyone willing to unite around a common purpose. And, holding Chloe's hand, he felt they were ready to face any storm that might arise. We have reached the end of this touching story. If you enjoyed it and want to see more narratives like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Right now there's a playlist of videos on your screen. If you want to keep watching these heartfelt stories, just click on it to start watching. And now, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from and leave a like to support our work. Now, a sincere question. Do you agree with what happened in the story? We'd love to hear your opinion. Until the next video. It's like I'm talking to a wall. Ethan leaned forward, interested. What would you like to present? Sometimes a new perspective can make all the difference. I have a proposal for new software that could increase our efficiency by 30%, Chloe said, lifting her head, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. But whenever I try to bring it up, it feels like people just ignore me. He watched her, noticing the determination in her eyes.